Hello, future engineers, subscribers, viewers, and students. Here is the last part of plane and solid analytic geometry. Part. This is fourth part, and I'm going to discuss the principles and formulas for the following topics: polar coordinates, Cartesian to polar, and polar to Cartesian. Uh, let's also consider and familiar common polar and parametric equations. Then, of course, solid analytic geometry, particularly sphere, ellipsoid, paraboloid, whatsoever, and space coordinates. So we have the Cartesian, spherical, and cylindrical coordinate system. So let's have polar coordinates first. Any point P with a pair of coordinates r and theta is plotted by laying out the angle first, and counterclockwise direction is positive, just like in plane trigonometry, from the polar axis with which coincides the positive x-axis, and r measured along the terminal side of theta. So if r is negative, then it should be laid out on the opposite direction of the terminal side of theta. So let's have the general visualization. So we have here the polar axis. This is the pole or origin in polar coordinate system. It is the pole. The origin is the pole. Then the positive x-axis is the polar axis. And we have to superimpose the x and the y-axis. So this is the point R. The distance from this point to that point, from the pole to that point, is r, and the angle that that distance or r makes with the polar axis is theta positive in counterclockwise direction as shown. So that is theta, that's r. If we see superimpose the x and the y axis, then this is y, and the horizontal is x. So that x is r cosine theta from the figure, y is r sine theta, tangent theta is y over x, and of course by Pythagoras theorem, x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Now how about the distance between 2 points, and the points are in polar coordinates? So we analyze it as distance between 2 points. We will form a triangle. So let us say this is r1 comma theta 1. So that's theta 1, angle first, then r1. Then the other point is theta 2, r2 theta 2, but theta 2 to be laid out first. Then that's r sub 2. Then the points and the distance between 2 points as shown, denoted by d. So since we form a triangle and this angle is theta 2 minus theta 1, the vertex angle here, then this is r1, that's r2, then by cosine law, d is equal to square root of r1 square plus r2 square minus 2r1 r2 cosine of the quantity theta 2 minus theta 1. So if you memorize a formula, then that's just cosine law. You may also transform its coordinates into Cartesian form, then apply distance formula, Pythagoras theorem. Once these polar coordinates are transformed into Cartesian or rectangular coordinates, then apply distance formula. Then here are the common polar curves. I want you to familiar with this. And these are the given equations. So R equals, in general, A. Those are the equations, but if we can also have it, R equals A quantity 1 plus cosine theta, and this is 1 plus cosine theta. So if it is in the opposite direction towards the negative x-axis, then it is R equals A quantity 1 minus cosine theta. We just plot points, representative points, and this will be revealed. This is R equals A quantity 1 plus sine theta, and the last one is the heart shape, which is the cardioid. R equals A quantity 1 minus sine theta. So that's the graph. So for other polar curves and Cartesian curves, so this is R equals A sine theta, which is a circle of radius of diameter A. Then R equals A sine square theta, that's the two leaf petal. Then R equals A cosine theta, a circle again with diameter coinciding the positive x-axis of diameter A. Then this is R equals A cosine square theta. You don't need to memorize, you can plot and verify that these are the graphs. So R equals A sine 2 theta, R equals A sine 3 theta. This is R equals cosine 2 theta, R equals A cosine 3 theta. And for this, similar earlier, cardioid, R equals A quantity 1 plus cosine theta, then R equals A quantity 1 plus 2 cosine theta, that's the shape. Then this is R equals A theta, R square equals A square cosine 2 theta, and so on. This is the polar coordinate system with angles graduated by, these are common angles and others are graduated 5 degrees. So if we have a line through the origin, that's theta 1, the equation is y equals mx, the slope is m, then since y is r sine theta, x is r cosine theta, we can cancel r and write it as tangent theta sine over cosine equals m. So theta therefore is arctan of m, and if it is also equal to theta 1. So if this theta 1 here is, let us say, 45 degrees, that's just an assumption, then theta equals pi over 4. That's the equation of that line through the origin. So in general, you just replace x by r cosine theta and y by r sine theta. So for common Cartesian curves, here are the following common Cartesian curves. One is the hypocycloid, and if there are four corners, then it is called a four-cusp hypocycloid. This is an example of a six-cusp hypocycloid. So a hypocycloid is the path generated by a point on an inside circle that rolls around another circle, bigger circle. Then if the circumference of that circle will be equal to 1/4 of this big circle here, then P here will be exactly terminate after one revolution, one complete revolution to this point, which is P. So for instance, if it begins here, you look at P as it rolls at the center, P should be somewhere here. Then as soon as it completely rotates by P, or travel a distance here, one complete revolution, so P would now be at this lowest point. And if we connect the path of P, it will generate this called forecast hypocycloid, or in general hypocycloid. Now, the definition is this: locus of a point P on the circumference of a rolling circle called generator, which rolls without slipping or sliding inside another circle called directing circle. So the perimeter of the hypocycloid, for instance, in this particular forecast hypocycloid, just for this forecast hypocycloid, the perimeter is equal to 6a, and this is the technique that I want to share with you. The straight line distance is square root of a square plus a square, so that's square root of 2a. Square root of 2 is 1.414 of a, but that's the straight line distance. This is the hypocycloid, it's longer, so the next value higher than that is 1.5a. So this is indeed 1.5a, and since there are 4 branches forecast times 4, so that's why the perimeter is equal to 6a. You have to memorize that also. Then for the area, uh, it is, if I treat this as, if we're going to treat this as spandrel of parabola, then this is the curve supposedly, which is a bit out outside this cusp here. So the area of a spandrel parabola is 1/3 AA, or 1/3 a square. There are 4, so times 4, that would be 4/3 of a square, and 4/3 is 1.333 a square. But the area bounded by the forecast hypocycloid is somewhat lower, and it is in terms of pi. So the area, so that you can also familiar with it, is 3 pi a square over 8. And 3 pi a square over 8, by the way, the forecast hypocycloid is also called astroid. So perimeter is 6a, as anticipated earlier. And the area is 3 pi over 8 a square. And if you evaluate 3 pi over 8, that's approximately 1.178 or 1.18 a square, which is lower. It should be lower. You look at the area inside than treating it as 4 spandrel of parabola, where the area is 1/3 AA, or 1/3 a square, times 4 4/3, or 1.333 a square. Now for the radius of the bigger circle is a, so the circumference of the bigger circle would be 2 pi a. So since one circumference of this rolling circle is equal to 1/4 of the circumference of the bigger circle, so we equate the radius of this. So let us say the circumference, the radius is r, and the circumference would be 2 pi r, and equate it to 1/4 of 2 pi a, the circumference of the bigger circle. So if we denote radius of the circle as a, so 2 bigger circle as a, outer circle, so 2 pi r, the circumference of this rolling circle, is equated to 1/4 of 2 pi a. Cancel 2 pi. So that means for the forecast hypocycloid, the radius is a over 4. So the parametric equation of that forecast hypocycloid is x to the 2/3 plus y to the 2/3 equals a to the 2/3. And if we check if it's correct, it is, these are the parametric equations. X is a cosine cube theta, or a cosine cube t. Y is a sine cube theta, or a sine cube t. Uh, these are the parametric equations. So if you check into this equation, then factor out a to the 2/3, then we'll have cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta, which is 1. So that's why a cosine cube theta quantity to the 2/3 times a sine cube theta quantity to the 2/3 equals a to the 2/3, or x to the 2/3 plus y to the 2/3 equals a to the 2/3. The next common and popular curve is this cycloid. So this time a cycloid is we have a circle that rolls on a straight line without slipping or sliding, and we have a point P here. As this circle rolls where it says it is now here, then P would be there. I adjust it here. Then as soon as it reaches the center here, it is just half of the circumference that is traveled. P will be on top, P will be above, and this is pi a, the distance from here to here, pi a, which is half the circumference of this rolling circle. That's pi a, because the radius is a, and after one complete revolution, then this p here goes back to this bottom point, and so on and so forth. It continues to roll there. Then to derive the parametric equations, so we have here the center of the circle. This is the radius of the circle, which we denote a. The radius of this rolling circle is a, and this is also a, and it subtends an angle. This angle is theta, so that the length of this green curve here on the rolling circle is radius a times theta. So this a times theta, and because the circle rolls or moves without sliding along this straight path, then the corresponding straight distance would also be a theta, radius times theta. That's a, that's radius a. This is the arc length, which is equal to this distance here, a theta, radius times central angle theta. So if this is x, we have here a right angle here. Then the radius, the hypotenuse is a. Then this is a sine theta, the horizontal projection of the radius. And this is a cosine theta. Therefore, x is a theta. This is a theta. Then minus distance from P to here is a sine theta. So that x is a theta minus a sine theta. Factor out a, then we have a times quantity theta minus sine theta. I will explain this, and I'll give you the technique also on how to memorize that. And take note that the area involves 3 pi a squared, just like this. There is just denominator for this forecast hypocycloid. This is only for forecast hypocycloid. This is not applicable to these different cases. So as derived here, factor out a, then we have theta, a times quantity theta minus sine theta. And for y, this is this. It is equal to a because the whole of this is a, and we subtract this vertical leg of this right triangle here. Imagine a right triangle, right angle here. It's a cosine theta, so y is a minus a cosine theta, and therefore y is a quantity 1 minus cosine theta. That's the parametric equation. Then I now explain or give you how to derive for the perimeter of this cycloid. One cycle, one revolution, only one complete revolution of the rolling circle. We have here the straight line distance of this blue line, but the length of the arc of the cycloid is longer. Take note of that. And you just round up the value such that it will give us either uh, point 5, point something 5, or a whole number. So this is supposedly pi a, half of the circumference of the circle at the center, and that is the diameter 2a. So this straight line distance is square root of quantity pi a square plus 2a quantity square. That's 3.724a, but because this is the length of the cycloid for halfway to one cycle, then we round up that to 4a, so that the total perimeter would be 4a times 2, and that is 8a. Likewise, for the area, this is the the green one is the parabola. So the area of parabola is 2/3, 2 times area of this parabola, 2/3 base times height. Where the base, so 2 times 2 because of the other half. The base is pi a and the height is 2a. That gives us 8/3 pi a square, but the area occupied by the cycloid is a bit greater. And to remind you, it should be a whole value. So next to 8/3, this is 2 and 2/3 is 3. So you increase it so that it will become a whole number. This is 2 and 2/3. So the next whole number is 3. So that's why the area is 3 pi a square. And to memorize the formula for the area of a forecast hypocycloid or asteroid, you just divide that formula by 8. It becomes the area of bounded by forecast hypocycloid. So that is R equals A. And this is the definition of a cycloid. So that's it for that part. So let's have the space coordinates. One is the Cartesian coordinate system, or the rectangular coordinate system, and relate this from your experience with statics. So the point is represented by 3 coordinates, x, y, and z, where x is the distance of the point from the yz plane, y the distance of the point from the xz plane, and z the distance of the point from the yz plane. And the line, so that's x, y, and z, the line joining the origin to that point is, the length of the line is denoted by capital R, and that R there makes an angle with each of the coordinate systems, respectively theta x, theta y, and theta z. So you have to recall from your background um, background in statics or experience in statics. So that's theta z. So that x squared plus y squared plus z squared equals r squared. So that's the projection of this big R here. Imagine there's a light overhead. Then this is the shadow. Its length is denoted by R, but it can be expressed in terms of big R and theta z. It is this R sine theta z, actually. But anyway, we'll just call that small r, because in other coordinate system, that is denoted by r, especially in cylindrical coordinates. So that is theta also, the angle that this small r here makes with the x-axis. That is denoted by theta. And x squared plus y squared plus z squared equals big R squared, while x squared plus y squared equals small r squared. And if the point is directed from point 1 to point 2, then the distance d, which is equal to big R also, if you want, is directed from point 1 to point 2. So we'll call that d, distance. So by Pythagoras theorem, distance squared equals delta x square, where delta x is terminal point minus initial coordinate quantity square. So that is d square equals quantity x2 minus x1 square plus quantity y2 minus y1 square plus quantity z2 minus z1 square equals distance square. So the distance between 2 points P1 and P2, and the cosines of this theta x, theta y, theta z are called direction cosines, and it is equal to delta x over r, big R, or x2 minus x1 over d. Cosine theta y is equal to y over big R, or quantity y2 minus y1 over d. Or you may replace x and y here by delta x, especially if the points are different points, not the origin. And cosine theta z is equal to delta z over r, quantity z2 minus z1 over d. And tangent of theta here is opposite y over adjacent x. Midpoint formula for points in space is the same. 1/2 quantity x1 plus x2, but it is extended to z. Yn equals 1/2 of quantity y1 plus y2, and z sub m 1/2 quantity z1 plus z2. So that's the midpoint formula, and if you can recall, the sum of the squares of this direction cosines is equal to unity or 1. And if theta x, theta y, theta z is theta x, theta y, theta z are all equal to each other, then theta x equals theta y equals theta z equals inverse cosine of 1 over square root of 3, to remind you. And that's 54.74 degrees. So the general equation of a plane is, you just extend the general equation of a line. For the line, ax plus by plus c equals 0. For planes, ax plus by plus cz plus constant d equals 0. So that's the general form. If we transpose d to the right, it becomes negative d, and if we divide everything by negative d, that will give us the what we call intercept form of equation of a plane, which is important in sketching the graph of a plane. So that would be x over x-intercept, that's the general equation, y plus y over y-intercept plus z over z-intercept equals 1. And this x-intercept is negative d over a after we divide this by d. And this is the y-intercept, negative constant over coefficient of y. The z-intercept is negative constant divided by the coefficient of z. So these are the definition of intercept form. So let's have here the volume under the plane. So if the intercepts are known, namely x, y, and z, so let us say a, that's b. Even if these intercepts are negative, you just treat them positive because we are computing for the volume. So the area of the volume of a pyramid, you can imagine this is a pyramid, is 1/3 area of the base times height. The height is c, and the base is a right triangle, so 1/3 of AB, 1/3 of area of the base, which is 1/2 AB times c, so it becomes 1/6 ABC over 6. So that's the volume under a plane. For the distance from a point to a plane, it is given by absolute value, which we can verify it here. Absolute value of ax1 plus by1 plus cz1 plus d over square root of a square plus b square plus c square. So our guide would be distance from a point to a line. It was absolute value of ax1 plus by1 plus constant over square root of a square plus b square. Now that it is a plane, it is extended because there is z component. So the other technique is, because the condition for parallel lines is such that the corresponding ratio of coefficients of x, ratio of coefficients of y equal. For parallel planes, we extend that to ratio of coefficient of z equals. So that is coefficients of x, ratio of coefficients of x equals ratio of coefficients of y equals ratio of coefficients of z equal. So a1, a2 equals b1, b2 equals c1, c2. That's the condition for parallel planes. Then from advanced math, uh, from condition for parallel lines, remember a1, a2, the sum of product of corresponding coefficients is 0. So we also extend that to coefficients of z. So that is a1, a2 plus b1, b2 plus c1, c2 equals 0. So that's the condition for perpendicular lines. Perpendicular planes rather. For perpendicular lines, if you can recall, a1, a2 plus b1, b2 equals 0. But you can easily recall that because for perpendicular lines, the product of the slopes is -1. But here, it's different. We just pattern it from line. So we extend it to plus c1, c2, then it still equals 0. Condition for parallel planes is if these are the planes. Now, the angle formed between two planes would be a1, a2, this one. Because if the two planes are parallel, it is 0. So, meaning this should be the numerator and divided by magnitude of each plane. Square root of a1 square plus b1 square plus c1 square, then square root of a2 square plus b2 square plus b2 square plus c2 square. So to derive this, remember that product from advanced mathematics and from your experience with statics, that a dot b is equal to product of the magnitudes of a and b times the cosine of the angle between them. And there are applications of this angle formed between them. You can compute the component of one in the direction of the other and vice versa. And the definition, if you expand a dot b, that is ax bx plus ay by plus az bz, which is the same as this in the numerator here, then divided by magnitude of a, magnitude of b, which is the magnitude of the first vector times magnitude of the second vector. That's the interpretation equals cosine of theta, which is similar. They are similar. Then let's extend this by computing the distance of any point, perpendicular distance of any point with coordinates x1, y1, z1 from a plane, and it is equal to this, but in vector approach, after we define a vector perpendicular to the plane, for instance, we cross this vector from here, from this intersection to that intersection, to this vector here, your right thumb will point in that direction, and that is, if I call this vector A, vector B, that is A cross B. And we have a point x1, y1, z1. If we define another vector C from this intersection of this vector and that point there, we define vector C. This is x1 minus the x coordinate of this point I plus quantity y1 minus y coordinate of this point j plus quantity z1 minus the z coordinate of this point k. That's the vector. And they are now adjacent to each other. This is the perpendicular distance, which is equal to this leg of this right triangle. So defining it as just trigonometry, this length is magnitude of vector C times cosine of the angle between them. So if we have two adjacent vectors, you can compute the component of one in the direction of the other. Simply, it is hypotenuse, which is C, cosine of beta. Now, what is this in general? So, because this is A cross B, and the component of this vector in that direction to be automatic is we obtain the dot product of C with the unit vector of that axis. So C dot, because from this result, quantity A cross B, this is just one vector dotted with C. The expansion will be the same as this, magnitude of the first times magnitude of the second times cosine of the angle between them. Then the magnitude of C cosine of beta is interpreted as this perpendicular distance of this point from that plane. So this is D. Therefore, A cross B over magnitude of A cross B, that's the unit vector of A cross B, or the unit vector of that axis. Then we dot that with C, or vice versa, because that product is commutative. So that is, define that vector through that point, then define the unit vector of the axis, obtain the dot product, then the result is the perpendicular distance of the point from that plane. So that is, this is the definition, C dot lambda of axis. But anyway, that is also the same as this from the analytic geometry point of view. Next, we have angle formed between two planes. That's the result, and we can also compute that by that product if you want to. Then we have the polar coordinates, spherical coordinate system rather. So this is 1 octant of the sphere. The radius of the sphere is denoted by big R. So a point lies on the surface of the sphere. That distance from the center is denoted by big R. And let's go back to the fact that that R makes an angle with the z-axis of theta z. R makes an angle of theta x with the x and theta y with the y. So this is the vertical projection, which is z. In terms of r and theta z, this is r cosine theta z. Remember? Then from O to this on the xy plane, that's small r, remember? And small r makes an angle of theta with the x-axis. So this is the x-coordinate, y-coordinate, and z-coordinate. So let's now define this rectangular coordinates in terms of the radius of the sphere, theta z and theta in spherical coordinate system. So that's small r, that's square root of x squared plus y squared, but that is also equal to this length, and that is r sine of theta z. Remember the shadow earlier, if we imagine a light overhead, this is the shadow, and that is r times sine of this angle, cosine theta z. And considering this right triangle, we have r sine theta z, this is x and this is y, and that's theta. We can now define x as simply hypotenuse r sine theta z times cosine of theta, while y is hypotenuse which is r sine theta z times sine of theta, while z is just this r cosine theta z. That's spherical coordinates. X is r sine theta z cosine theta. Don't memorize. Just plot it here, and I hope you can analyze after. Do not memorize. Then that's theta, of course. Then y is r sine theta z sine theta, and z is just r cosine of theta z. So same, x squared plus y squared plus z squared equals big R squared. Tangent theta equals y over x. So that's it for that part. So finally, let's have the cylindrical coordinate system where the point lies on the surface of the cylinder, right circular cylinder. Again, we consider 1 octant of the cylinder, And the radius of the cylinder this time is small r because it's this radius here, right? And same principle that small radius makes an angle with the x-axis of theta. So we can now analyze that the x, y, and z coordinates equivalent. So this is x, and that's y, and that's small r from the origin, and z is just z. Z is z. The coordinates would be r, theta, z. For spherical coordinate system, it was r, theta, and theta z. It was r, theta, and theta z. Big R, theta, and theta z for spherical coordinate system. So here we have small r, and small r makes an angle of theta with the x-axis. Therefore, x, this side here, is r cosine theta. So that's the cylindrical coordinates. X is r cosine theta, y is r sine theta, and z is just z. And x squared plus y squared equals small r squared tangent theta equals y over x. Then to write the standard equation of a sphere with center at hkn, recall the standard equation of a circle with radius small r. So here it is quantity, let's extend it to z. So it is quantity x minus h squared plus quantity y minus k squared plus quantity z minus n squared equals radius of sphere quantity squared. So remember that if z is removed, the third term is removed, and this is replaced by small r. That's the standard equation of a circle. Now that it is a sphere, let's extend it to this third term, z minus n quantity square. Then for a sphere with center at the origin, you just set x, h, k, and n 0. So x squared plus y squared plus z squared equals big R squared. For the standard equation of an ellipsoid with center at hkn, remember that for an ellipse, it was x minus h quantity square over a square plus y minus k quantity square over b square equals 1. For an ellipsoid, we extend that to z. And let us call the third radius as c. So x minus h square over a square plus y minus k square over b square plus z minus n square over c square equals 1. The volume of sphere is 4/3 pi ABC. Take note of that. If the semi-ellipse is revolved about its major axis, semi-ellipse revolved about its major axis, it's called prolate spheroid. And recall from solid geometry. If the semi-ellipse is revolved about its minor axis, it's called oblate spheroid. The general equation of sphere, therefore, we pattern it from general equation of a circle, which was x squared plus y squared plus cx plus dx plus f equals 0. So here we have quantity, we have ax squared plus by squared plus cz squared plus dx plus ey plus fg plus constant g equals 0. So we have second degree terms 3, then first degree terms 3 also, constant equals 0. Now remember, for a circle, it was a squared plus by squared, ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dx plus f equals 0. Now that it is a sphere, we have to extend it to those at z variable, and we have z first term and constant. Constant is common. Now for a sphere, a equals b equals c, it is a sphere. For a circle, a is equal to b only. For sphere, we have to extend it to a equals b equals c. Of course, you know the volume of a sphere 4/3 pi r cubed. surface area 4 pi r square. For an ellipsoid, the general equation would be ax square, same, but a is not necessarily equal to b, not necessarily equal to c, but two of them may be equal, just as I explained for oblate and prolate spheroids earlier. So A, B, C should be positive or greater than 0. So that's it for this video. I hope that you can retain especially the mnemonic aids, formulas, um, common parametric equations, perimeter areas, and so on that were discussed here. And especially for sphere, you just recall circles, ellipse also, then you can write also the standard equation of a sphere and also for ellipsoid.